I'm really excited about this room today because this is the answer to a question that I was asked when I did a presentation for the Carolina Hypnosis Association. I don't know if I have that third word correct, but someone asked a really intriguing question, and it opened my eyes to a gap that I sometimes leave out when I talk to people about doing group hypnosis sessions. And that's this idea of, what if every person on the call is there for a different reason? Like, such an important part of doing one-on-one sessions is being able to ask a person what the problem is that they're dealing with today and have them kind of work through that so you can get a feel for what they need and then guide them to that solution. And I'm going to share, so this is my disclaimer before we start. This is Lori Hammond's opinion. It may or may not be correct. Please take it with a grain of salt. If it resonates with you, great. If it doesn't, drop it. And I see you, Jeff, here on, oh, Jeff is saying no audio, and now I'm on. Okay. Wow, I don't know what's going on with my audio today. So this is my perspective, and this is a paradigm that I have adopted, which has been taught to me by many different teachers, so I don't even know who to credit. Probably Mike Mandel first, since he was my first teacher and laid the foundation for me. And what I'm about to present is something that has taken a tremendous amount of weight off of my chest when it comes to generating transformation inside a one-on-one session or a group session. And it's something that has really helped silence my imposter monster. And I don't know that we ever completely silence the imposter monster. We're always going to have self-doubts. We're always going to second guess ourselves. And I think that having that understanding, realizing that everyone feels that way, this is not a plug for my podcast, but if you haven't listened to my podcast, Silence the Imposter Monster, I talked to some of the biggest names in the industry who share that they still struggle with this stuff. So when it comes to the concept of needing to talk about the problem in order to find a resolution, I reject that notion based on the premise that when a person experiences transformation inside a hypnosis session, inside a therapy session, pretty much in any context, whether it's groups or one-on-one, when a person experiences a transformation, it's because their unconscious mind has had an aha moment that, oh, it's safe to let this go, so I'm going to let this go. And maybe you said some cool words that just happened to line up just right. But I really believe that so much of it is intention, and it's understanding the formula that helps the unconscious mind understand, this is the problem I'm ready to shift out of, and this is what I want to have instead. And when those two pieces are present inside any session, it lays the foundation for transformation. We all know that the client always has their own free will, and they can decide whether to step into that transformation or not. But I believe that the pieces that allow transformation to happen don't have anything to do with the dialogue that's going on. That's like the conscious mind stuff, and it's the unconscious mind stuff that creates transformation. So I'm going to do this two different ways. I'm just going to walk you through how I would do this. So let's say you're doing an all-purpose session that is let's make this in the context of weight loss. So let's say you're doing a group hypnosis session to help people find freedom in their eating behaviors. Maybe they have been stuck at a plateaued weight for a long time and they want to get a breakthrough, and some of the people on this call are mindless snackers, and they mindless snack because when they're bored, they just find themselves reaching for something. They can find themselves reaching for food, or maybe they do it to avoid the task at hand. They eat to distract themselves. Some people might eat emotionally because of something that happened in their childhood, or there's some kind of a trauma and they're soothing themselves with food. Some people might think of themselves as a chocolate addict, and they are a chocolate addict because, who knows why. There could be so many reasons why. But every person there on the call has a little bit of a nuanced reason why they struggle with their weight. Some of them, it could be a metabolism issue, and the unconscious mind is in charge of the metabolism. We're not consciously controlling our metabolism, which shows you that it's the unconscious mind that we want to talk to ask for help for this person. So I will walk you through this. I will make this experiential and show you how I would walk people through this on a group call. And then I will unpack the science. I don't know if science is behind it. I'll unpack the acronym behind it that I learned from Mike Mandel to help. Hopefully you will get some really cool aha moments that will take the pressure off of the idea of like, what protocol should I use? Should I use this protocol or this protocol? Should I say this thing or this thing? And the bottom line is when these pieces are there, it will all fall into place. So what I'd like you to do first is think about a problem something that you're struggling with in your life. And it doesn't have to be in the context of eating or food or anything like that. Just like if you think, man, this one problem, if I could just find freedom in this one area of my life, it would make things so much easier. And now I'm going to ask you to do something brave and realize that you're doing it in the safety of this Clubhouse room for you who are on Clubhouse, this YouTube experience for those of you who are here on YouTube. Just imagine that you are right here with me. You're in a safe setting. And I want you just to let yourself go into that problem. So if it's a behavior or a habit, if it's a mood or like a sense of anxiety or depression, if it's an addictive behavior, just let yourself go into either the last time or the time that just really stands out at you as being a huge struggle. The last time this problem was a problem, go there now. See what you see. Hear what you hear when you're here in this problem. And really feel what you feel when this is a problem. Let yourself think those disempowering thoughts that go along with this issue. Allow yourself just to sink into this moment, noticing the quality of light, perhaps any aromas, any tastes in your mouth. Just let yourself feel this problem in this safe space. And now I'd like you to scan your body and just notice where in your body this feeling originates. And it's okay to guess or make it up. It works just as well if you make it up. And now I'd like you just to give this feeling a rating on the intensity on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being almost non-existent, 10 being unbearable. Just notice what it's like when you are here in this situation where you've put yourself. And if it's not at least a 7 or above, I invite you to imagine that there is just an imaginary dial in front of you and that you can see the number it is on that dial. And I want you to physically reach up your hand and crank that dial so that feeling magnifies to at least a 7, knowing that it's safe to do this in this safe place. And as you notice, like the way your body language changes when you feel this, the way your breathing changes when you feel this, the things that you say to yourself and think to yourself, the disempowering things you believe when you feel this. I want you just to tell your unconscious mind, as if you could just look at that highest self part of you and say, this is what I'm ready to change. I'm ready for transformation in this area. It's almost like you're shining a spotlight and saying, this is the thing I'm ready to let go of. And if you haven't already, just imagine that you're saying that right now to your highest self, saying, I'm ready to let this go. Perhaps even saying it out loud. And now what I'd like you to do is just open your eyes if they're closed and look around the room you're in and find 3 things that are blue. And I'd like you to sit up a little straighter. Like imagine that a magic string is pulling you up from the top of the head and it's allowing the rest of your body just to kind of hang loose and limp and relax like a marionette on a string. Lift your chin slightly. Lift your eyes slightly so you're looking up. And smile so big that the crinkles on the corner of your eyes crinkle up. And just take a deep, invigorating breath from low in the belly. And let it out with a long, slow sigh of relief. And just think to yourself, I am here and all is well. And now what I'd like you to do is imagine that it's tomorrow morning, that you are waking up in the morning and you realize a miracle has happened. You realize that whatever is about to happen on the rest of this call, like you thought you were just getting in Clubhouse or on a YouTube video to learn some techniques for group sessions, but what if you were actually supposed to be here in this moment because a miracle is just about to happen and is already set in motion? And you wake up in the morning and you realize that problem you had is a thing of the past. And I want you to think about how life will be different as you move through this day. I wonder what it will be like 6 months from now, having woken up every morning and just expressed gratitude at what's ahead of you, at what is before you, because you've almost forgotten. In fact, you have forgotten what it was like to even have that problem. Day after day, week after week, month after month. And if you would just close your eyes for a moment and imagine that it's a year from now. It's January 31st, 2023. And you have been living this last year free of that problem. And I want you to notice what life is like now. When you're in that situation that used to generate the problem, notice what you have instead. If you have any trouble with this, shift your posture again into that empowered posture. Tip your head up, perhaps outstretch your arms, smile, and imagine how good life is going to be a year from now that you are free of this problem. Notice what you see when you look out. Notice what you hear when you're here. And notice what you feel. Notice the kinds of things you say to yourself. What are the kinds of things you're thinking about your life and this situation? How have things changed? How have your relationships with other people changed? How has your level of kindness changed? How has your self-talk changed? How much more confident are you? And once more, I want you to just imagine that you could tell your unconscious mind right now, because your unconscious mind is paying attention to your imagination. Just tell your unconscious mind, this is what I want. And imagine perhaps some representation of your unconscious mind in front of you. It could be an animal, it could be a person, a spiritual being. Just imagine some representation in front of you, looking at you and saying, as you wish, you've got this. And just notice that sensation, that subtle sensation inside. Perhaps a gentle movement that helps you understand something amazing has just taken place. Something has transformed. I was supposed to be here today. And just tell your unconscious mind, thank you. Thank you. And now I want you to take this amazing feeling, this knowledge, even if you're just pretending to believe it, just this, what if a miracle did just happen? And I want you to take this feeling, notice where it lives in your body, this feeling of promise and positivity. And I want you to go back into that very first scene when we first started. I want you to bring this feeling into that situation that used to be a problem, and notice how different it is when you have this body language, when you're breathing in this way. when you say these thoughts to yourself. And now I want you to imagine that you could turn toward the past and that you could look at your timeline and all the times when this has been a problem in the past. And in a moment, not yet, but in a moment, I'm going to have you take a deep breath and imagine that you could blow this amazing feeling back through the past to all those past versions of you that used to struggle with that problem. Perhaps you're blowing it as a color. You imagine it as a color or something else. And just go ahead and face your past right now. Imagine where that is. And if you can physically turn and face your past right now, I want you to do that. And now I want you to take a deep breath and go ahead and blow this transformation all the way back through your timeline so that every time you used to experience that problem, this goes through and transforms the way your body coded that memory and that experience. So as you move forward, you have a new perspective, a new way of dealing with that situation. And now what I'd like you to do is bring your hands to your heart and just notice the sensation of your hands against your chest in this moment. Be here now. Notice the peace in this present moment. And just think to yourself, I am here and all is well. And I am so grateful. And now I'd like you to turn and face the future, wherever the future is represented in the space around you. And in a moment, I'm going to have you blow this feeling of peace and presence and transformation and this knowledge of the miracle that has just happened into the future. 1, 2, 3, take a deep breath in and blow. Notice the way that changes your timeline. Notice the way your body relaxes into that. I'm going to take a drink of water. I just blew so hard I made my throat itch. And just once more, if your hands aren't still on your chest, bring them back there now. And just think the words, thank you. And just imagine what it's going to be like to wake up in the morning knowing that this change has been set in motion. And as you sleep and dream tonight, your brilliant unconscious that understands so much better how to generate this miracle on your behalf than I do is going to put all those pieces into place in the way that is perfect for you, so that as the days go by, you look back and realize that's just not a problem anymore. And you realize that the change that took place in this moment, in this clubhouse room, on this YouTube video, whether you're live or on the replay, this is yours from now on. And you can go ahead and open your eyes and come back to now. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through the components of why that is so powerful. And notice that I didn't talk about any specific problem, but like your heart knows, that one thing that bothers you. And since I know that all humans have that thing, I can talk about it in a way where, I can think about the one thing that might bother me and know that as I talk about my thing that bothers me, it resonates with your thing that bothers you. Because even if we're in a one-on-one session and your client is explaining their problem, you're listening to it from your paradigm. You're listening to it from your history of experiences and your way of looking at the world and your way of interpreting the words that they're saying that might mean something totally different to you than they mean to them. And when you start to understand, as hypnotists, we are the key holder. We're just the unlocker. So we're just helping the unconscious mind understand it's okay to let this go. And we're shining a spotlight on what that issue is that they're going to let go. And we're not the one shining the spotlight. We're just equipping them to do it. So Mike Mandel teaches this as the ADAC formula, ADAC. So the first A is for associate in. So you want to associate them into the problem. And that means you're putting them there as if this is the power of hypnosis, you guys. The very first thing Mike taught me as a hypnotist was to revivify an experience. To vivify means to bring something to life. And to bring something to life, we use our words. This is all we have as hypnotists, words and intention. We have more than words, but words is our main thing. To use our words to place them into an experience from the past. And so when we did this exercise in the training, he had us get into groups and he had us talk about something we enjoy doing. And for me, it was roller skating. I feel like I've shared this fairly recently, but let's pretend it's swimming. And you wanted to associate someone into the experience of swimming. You would say, okay, I want you just to feel the water on your skin. And they might tell you that they especially like floating in the water. So notice the way your body feels buoyant and light on the water. Notice the aromas of the water. Notice the way that moisture feels on your skin. If your ears are under the water, notice the way the sounds are different. Notice the peaceful sensation of just drifting and floating. Look up and notice what you see as you're here. So you're just using really 3 of the 5 senses. You're using the visual, the auditory, or what they hear, and the kinesthetic, what they feel. And you're talking about it as if they are there right now. So you don't say when you're swimming, and I know so many of you in this room know this, but bear with me. You're not saying when you go swimming, what's it like? When you're swimming, you can hear the sound of the water, but you say you are here, hearing the sound of the water. And so I'll often tell people when I do this on my Zoom calls, I'll say this is going to feel like a dirty trick because I'm going to ask you to feel that pain for a moment, but know that you're doing it in a safe place, which covers another question that came up on this group call, which was how do you deal with the possibility of abreaction on a call? For anyone who doesn't know what that word means, it means that someone has a meltdown because they are remembering that experience with such a vivid imagination that it feels like they're there and their body is responding by either crying uncontrollably or freaking out in some other way. And so when you simply pre-frame here in this safe place, in this safe experience, it eliminates the chance of abreaction, especially if you have built a trusting relationship with them, which hopefully you've done before you ever start this, and you can do very effectively on a group call. And then the next D, so that's A, associate them into the problem. And then the next one is D, dissociate. So then you take them back out. And that is actually so easy. And we did it on this call by looking around and finding 3 things that were blue. And then by shifting what I call the 3 Bs, I had you shift your body language, your breathing, and your belief, which all belief is. It's, we think beliefs are so scary and sticky, but all they are is the things we're saying to ourselves. So when you start to say some empowering things to yourself, it shifts you right back out. I double dare you, if you struggle with depression like I used to, I double dare you to shift your 3 Bs in the way I guided you during that session, to look up, to sit up straight, to smile big, to outstretch your arms, and to think, life is so good. Or just to simply think, I am okay in this moment, and try to feel depressed. And I double dare you, if you struggle with anxiety, to take a deep breath and then let it out with a long, slow exhale as you think, I am here. And just continue to breathe out for longer than you breathe in, and really focus on elongating your exhale, and try to continue to feel anxious when you are telling yourself, all is well, I am okay. It really does shift everything. I think that the most powerful form of self-hypnosis in the world, there is a set of 3 Bs that goes along with anxiety. There's a set of 3 Bs that goes along with depression. And when we become relentlessly consistent in changing our 3 Bs over and over and over, it changes everything. And I am digressing. So I'm going to come right back to the next A. So it's ADAC. We've got the first two: associate into the problem, dissociate from the problem. Next, you're going to associate into the solution or the desired state or what they want to have instead. And if you've ever had a client come in and they tell you what they're struggling with, and you say, well, what do you want to have happen? Like, how do you want this to change? And they say, well, I won't crave chocolate all the time anymore, or I won't mindlessly snack when I'm sitting in my office and I feel like I'm overwhelmed by the day. And the thing is, we paint pictures with our words, and the idea of won't or don't or doesn't actually exist except in language. So when we say, I won't crave chocolate, we're making a mental image of craving chocolate for our unconscious mind. So one way that I will sometimes talk about this is I'll say, okay, I wish you could see me on Clubhouse. I'm going to try to talk you through what I'm doing. I'll say, when that chocolate craving, and right now I'm like, I have my hands wrapped around the chocolate craving. I'm holding my hands in front of me as if I'm holding a giant ball, invisible ball, is a thing of the past. And now I'm swishing it into the past. And since my video is reversed, it probably looks like I'm swishing it into the future, but I'm swishing it into the past. Just believe me on this. So you're giving them a verbal cue and a visual cue, and say, when that chocolate craving is a thing of the past, and now I'm bringing my hands back out and holding something invisible in a different way and saying, what will be there in its place? Or you could say, what amazing thing will be there in its place? And then you'll see them kind of like look around and think and say, well, I'll just feel content, and I won't need to do that thing I used to do, because I'll be able to just sit and go on to the next task, or maybe I'll stand up and stretch a little bit, and I'll just tell myself I'm okay. I'm grasping a little bit here, but you get the picture. And since I couldn't ask you all that on the call, and you couldn't do this in the context of a group call, if you had a bunch of people on your group call, you just guide them the same way you did when you revivified the past by using your words to make them see, hear, and feel that past experience. Now you go into the future and you say, this is the magic wand question. And there's so many ways to ask it. So I said, if you wake up in the morning and you realize a miracle just happened, or you could say, if I had a magic wand and I waved this magic wand and completely wiped out that problem, and you woke up in the morning knowing that everything was okay, that this is a moment when this change happened. And here I'm nodding my head and saying, this change happened, which is inserting a little embedded command that the unconscious mind is paying attention and understanding this change happened. What would life be like? What would you see, hear, feel, go a week into the future, a month, 6 months, and then you really just plop them into 6 months in the future, or whatever that timeline is, seeing what they see, hearing what they hear, feeling what they feel. And you could go so far as to say, and I'll always say at the many, many, many years from now, at the end of your long, healthy, joy-filled life, when you're on your deathbed and you're just looking back and realizing what an amazing life you have lived, and you're looking back at this moment and realizing this is the moment when the change took place, and you're noticing all the amazing experiences you've had, what would this future you come back and whisper in your ear right now? And then you're allowing them to get counsel from their highest self. You're not trying to tell them anything. Like, you don't freaking know. It gives me such relief to know I don't need to try to tell my clients what they need to know, because I would be telling them from my paradigm. But when I shut up and let their highest self give them these answers, they come up with things that are so much cooler than anything I can come up with. Again, this is just the way Lori Hammond sees it. You can take it or leave it. If this resonates for you, great. But this is the reason why you don't have to choose the right protocol for each person. It's about intention. It's about knowing how to associate them in and associate them out. Okay, so we've gone through the first 3 letters: associate into the problem, dissociate, associate into the solution. And the last one is C, and that is for collapse. So then you have them take this powerful, positive feeling that they have when they have this transformation. And I even had you build it up a little bit bigger by shifting your 3Bs once more and taking on that powerful posture. And then you have them send it into the past. And if you go and you revivify again that first thing you associated them into, that problem, but you are really clear to say, bringing this amazing feeling, I want you to go back to that situation that used to be a problem and notice how it changes when you bring this into that situation. So now you're collapsing this positive thing into that old memory. And I've never done that. Blow it through your timeline in the past and blow it through your timeline in the future. I've never done that before, but I made a fun protocol for my Transy Tuesdays a few weeks ago where we like picked flowers that looked like dandelions, like the dandelions that have gone to seed, and you can blow on them and all those little umbrellas go floating. I did a protocol where you picked a dandelion and you blew that wish. I'm not going to blow again because I don't want to make myself cough. You blow that wish into the future, and you can blow it to people, to loved ones, to people you're worried about, to your future self. And in my mind, it's almost like a way of praying for someone or sending them love and light. And so I've been using that a lot. I was worried about my little grandbaby. She wasn't feeling good the other day, and I just imagined sending her, like picking a flower of health and blowing that health forward to her. So that was kind of a spontaneous thing, but I hope that's clear. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to wait a moment. And if anyone watching on YouTube has questions, if you will type them in the chat right away. No rush, but hurry up because there's a delay on here and I want to make sure I see your question. And if not, I will see if anyone wants to raise their hand. And Mark is already on the stage. So Mark, you're welcome to chat with me in a moment if you'd like to. No pressure. But if anyone in Clubhouse wants to come up and raise your hand, please feel free to do so. Before I wrap up, I do want to mention I have put a link here in Clubhouse and in YouTube in the description of the video. There's a link to a workshop that I'm doing. It's an event I'm doing on Sunday. It's a free event that is 3 secrets to transformational group hypnosis sessions. And I am going to give you my favorite induction script. It's actually not my script. It's Menno Littell's script. And so I asked him permission and he granted it. I think everyone who has heard this script, it's like their new favorite induction. And you can do it in groups. You can do it in one-on-one sessions. You can do it in person. You can do it virtually. And it is freaking amazing. And I'm also going to give you 3 of my favorite hypnosis protocols. And when I create my protocols in Transy Tuesdays, it's always with this intention of just weaving together an experience that lets somebody feel something amazing and directs the unconscious mind to solve the problem on their behalf. I don't put tons of suggestions in there because, again, I believe that it's a metaphorical experience that their unconscious mind knows how to unpack based on them setting an intention before we ever go into the protocol about the thing that they want to change and what they want to have instead. So if you want to join me for that event, it's going to be really awesome. I'm hoping to get like 100 people there. And you can click the link at the top of this page if you're in Clubhouse, and in the YouTube link if you're in YouTube. I would love to see you there. When you sign up, I'll send you the link to get in the call with me. And then I'll send you the replay if you can't join me live, and the 3 protocols and the induction. Okay, I'm going to say goodbye on YouTube, and I'm going to be all yours on Clubhouse and open up the floor to questions. Thank you so much for watching. I'm so grateful for you. Have an amazing day. Okay, I think I just